As Brother Farah said, your sin's been hung on the cross, not the law. But we are in the midst of a falling away. Chrislam. A common word between us and you. Why don't you go home and read a common word between us and you? Put it in Google. Search for it. See who is betraying the cause. If I name the names, you will not invite me again. You're shocked because for years it was the Catholic Church. It's not the Islam. We should be worried about Europe, not the Muslims. Let's have peace with the Muslims. Oh, we worship the same God. The common word between us and you says we worship the same God. We apologize for the war on terror. You sold out because you think, oh, the bad guy's coming from the West and he's really coming from the East. You've ignored the Eastern leg. You've ignored North Africa. You've ignored these literal mentionings in the Bible. The Caliphate was removed in Turkey. Said Biran wanted to reinstitute the Caliphate. This happened in 1924. 1924. It was the West that gave a crushing blow to the Caliphate. And then what happened? In 1928, 4 years later, the Muslim Brotherhood was born. The Naqshbandi Sufi Muslims in Turkey began to establish madrasas, Sufis. And of course, you had Said Biran, Said Nursi, Adnan Mandris, trying constantly to establish the madrasas in 1950s. In 72, in Erbakan rose to, began his peace party. The peace party was dismantled in 1980. Why? Because the generals in Turkey were the upper hand. The one that is stopping this movement is finally removed out of the way. What happened in Turkey? What happened in Turkey was very simple. The generals were pro-America. The military was pro-America. And it was always closing down any attempt to revive Islam in Turkey. Turkey wanted to join the European Union. And the European Union kept reminding the Turks, you need to have democratic elections. You need to give freedom to the people to elect what they want. The military is sort of kind of heavy-handed. So the secular Turks, the military, the generals, began to kind of give in to the European Union demands. And guess what? Now the Turks could have madrasas, Islamic school teachings. Now they could expand in the suburbs. From the suburbs, they went to Ankara, to Istanbul. Because the West wanted freedom and democracy for the Turks and everything else. And guess what? That's what basically began to grow the party. Of course, Erdogan was a student of Erbakan. So then, he left the Rafah party to start the AK party, the AK party. And then he got the majority of the seats in Turkey. They won the elections 2 times in a row. And now they had the Ergenekon conspiracy, in which now it's illegal. They can't even dismantle the Islamic Party any longer in Turkey. That's it. Once Islam comes in, you can't get it out. Because anyway, just remove it. We have another democratic election. They can change their minds after they see all the Sharia stuff. The people will change their mind. Look, in the Muslim world, yeah, they have democracy during the elections. 1 man, 1 vote, once. So Turkey is looking like it's establishing itself. And the AK party is establishing itself permanently. China's not going to do anything. Stop reading books about China. There's no China in the Bible. Y2K is not in the Bible. Nostradamus is not in the Bible. If it's not in the Bible, don't read it. 2012, the Mayan calendar, nothing's going to happen. Relax. Forget the Mayan calendar. Forget the modern prophecy buffs. Forget even buying books on prophecy. Don't even buy my book. Just read the Bible. Read it. It's all there. Don't isolate Ezekiel 38 by itself. You got to read who is the Pharaoh of Egypt in Ezekiel 29. Who is the Pharaoh of Egypt? And why is the Antichrist called the Pharaoh of Egypt? Because he will invade Egypt, take over Egypt, exactly as Daniel 11 said. There is no vacuums in the Middle East. Egypt is falling apart, creating a vacuum. Tunisia, Libya will follow suit. And they're all talking about the Turkish model. The Turkish model of Islam, which is secular Islam. You put the word secular, and that basically appeases the American people who are in the middle. Now they're not worried, though. It's secular Islam. We'll begin to take over the Suez Canal. I'm telling you what's going to be ahead. Iran controls the Hormuz. Israel is not going to attack Iran and destroy its nuclear anytime soon. In fact, I had this conversation with Brother Chuck. I told him, Brother Chuck, you said Israel is going to attack Iran. It's not going to attack Iran. It's been 3 years. Hasn't happened yet. Iran must gain its nuclear ability. Why? Because it has to attack Saudi Arabia. The Antichrist says, my river is mine. He invades Egypt. He'll take over the Suez Canal. They will take over all the waterways. In fact, very interestingly, I was reading George Friedman, the next 100 years. George Friedman, he was one of these advisors that gives synopsis of what's going to happen with demography changes in the world. One of the top experts on demographic changes, advises the government. It's very interesting. I read his book. His book matches my book, God's War on Terror. And he's not even a Bible scholar or reads even Bible prophecies. And he's saying Turkey is going to rise as a major superpower in the region. But Americans worry about America all the time. America's going to fall. The American economy still is the #1 economy in the world. It's bigger than the economies of Germany, Japan, China, and Great Britain combined. Still is. You worry so much. You don't know that God's in control. But I also find America in the Bible. I find it doing what it always does. Tell me, when America brought Saddam Hussein to justice, that wasn't good? It was good and it was kind of bad in a way, but it was good. The man needs to have to be judged, what he did. He tortured people. America's been a righteous nation when it comes to these things. I mean, the Antichrist in Daniel 11, he declares war against the strongest fortresses. If the Antichrist declares war against the strongest fortresses, then the Antichrist is not the strongest fortress, is he? Then why did you make the Antichrist the strongest dog on the block? There's nowhere in the text that says he's the strongest. He declares war on the strongest fortresses. And Ezekiel 28, verse 7 and 8, read it. There God raises nations to destroy the Antichrist. He raises nations. And those nations that he raises, the most terrible of the nations, terrible in battle that is, the most mightiest nations in battle, God raises to destroy the Antichrist. I thought the Antichrist rules the entire globe. But he doesn't. If he rules the entire globe, why do we have 10 toes? Tell me why. Why do we have 10 horns? It's very interesting that God uses other nations to destroy him. Daniel 7 and 8, very interesting stuff. In Daniel 7 and 8, it's talking about lion, feet of a bear. You know, the bear rises on one side. Matches exactly what we have in Revelation chapter 13. Body of a leopard, Grecian. It can't join the European Union. Why? Because there's limits to this entity. It's Greco-Romano. It doesn't take over. The Turks have always tried, the Ottoman Empire tried to occupy Italy. They occupied parts of Italy. They couldn't occupy Europe. They were defeated. And when I read the Bible, it says the ships of Chittim will go against him. Well, that's Antiochus. I don't look at it that way. The ships of Chittim are the Roman ships that are coming from the Mediterranean, from Cyprus, Italy, Spain. This armada of ships will eventually fight against Turkey and will defeat Turkey, will defeat this Islamic alliance. Let me remind you of some of your scholars, some of the best in your history. Let's see. Martin Luther said, the Turks have neither spiritual nor temporal law, but only their Quran. There is no doubt that the true Roman Empire, which the writings of the prophets foretold in Numbers 24:24 and in Daniel 11 verse 30, has long since been overthrown. That was brought to pass, especially when the Turkish Muhammadan Empire arose almost 1,000 years ago. Hello? Daniel 8:4, the ram pushing westwards. Could it be possible that they will be pushing into Azerbaijan? You have to understand the history. The Ottoman Empire, Uthman I, he had this dream of taking over all 3 continents. Come after him, Muhammad II, who took Istanbul. He declared himself as the Caesar of Rome. Did you know the Ottomans called themselves the Caesar of Rome? Roman Caesars. In fact, Islam believes first Constantinople, then Rome. Their prophecies still have not been fulfilled. Muhammad said first Constantinople, Turkey will be taken over and will be Islamized. That happened. Then Rome. That's why the Ottomans were focused on Rome. According to Islamic eschatology, Rome must be occupied by Islam. Of course, you don't like Rome because you thought Rome is the harlot. Salim al-Awwal, then Sulaiman the Great, Sulaiman al-Qanuni, Sulaiman the Magnificent took Belgrade, Hungary. Then they were met by the Knights of St. John. 6,000 Christians fought against 50,000 Muslims and defeated them. Where is today the Knights of St. John? The West has been fooled because Turkey knows how to play the game. Libya, Tunisia, all those countries, Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, they're keen how to play the game because they saw what happened. The Iranian Revolution with the cyber rattling of Ahmadinejad. The West didn't take kindly to that kind of rhetoric. So now they have these economic boycotts against Iran. We're going to play the game differently. We're going to say we're secular, we believe